K-pop is sold as perfection, flawless visuals, tight friendships, organic success, and idols who look like they're living a dream. But behind that polished surface is an industry built on carefully engineered illusions that most fans never stop to question. From the moment a trainee enters a company, they're not just learning choreography or vocal control, they're being shaped into a marketable identity. Every reaction, habit, and personality trait is observed, adjusted, and sometimes outright rewritten. Some idols are pushed to be the quiet and mysterious one, others the chaotic mood maker, the soft-hearted leader, or the untouchable visual. These roles aren't always chosen, they're assigned, because fans don't just follow music, they follow characters. And the more emotionally attached fans become, the more powerful that attachment is as a business tool. Dating bans exist for this exact reason. It's not only about image protection, it's about ownership. When fans feel like an idol is emotionally unavailable to anyone else, they invest harder, defend louder, and spend more. Survival shows took this manipulation and turned it into entertainment. What viewers see as raw competition is often heavily filtered storytelling. Contestants are edited into archetypes: the villain, the underdog, the prodigy, the weak link. Facial expressions are reused, pauses are exaggerated, music cues are added, and suddenly a normal moment feels explosive. And once people started catching on to how staged these moments were, the industry didn't pull back, it doubled down in a much smarter way. And this is where things get even more uncomfortable, because once fans start noticing cracks in the image, companies don't fix the problem, they distract from it. When backlash hits, a new controversy suddenly appears. When criticism grows too loud, a teaser drops. When questions start forming, a scandal conveniently steals the spotlight. This cycle has played out over and over again. Fake arguments teased in previews that never make it to air, dramatic clips pushed for shock value, only to be quietly explained away later. Trainees framed as aggressive, disrespectful, or arrogant, based on edited soundbites while the context is removed entirely. By the time the truth comes out, the damage is already done. The hate has already landed, and the algorithm has already moved on. Some idols have admitted that they were encouraged to exaggerate reactions or play along with scripted tension because they were told it would help the show. Others said they had no idea how something would be edited until it aired, leaving them blindsided by public backlash they never saw coming. And the scariest part is how normalized this has become. Fans expect drama, networks expect outrage, and idols are stuck absorbing the consequences. Even when situations are later revealed to be staged or exaggerated, apologies rarely reach the same audience as the original scandal. The illusion doesn't just survive, it resets, stronger than before. Viewers keep watching, convinced that next time will be different, that next show will be more real, more fair, more honest. But the structure never changes because the system isn't broken, it's working exactly as intended. Trainees later admitted that scenes were rearranged so heavily that they didn't recognize themselves on screen, and once an edit sticks, it follows them forever. But editing was only the surface level. Behind the scenes, producers controlled outcomes in ways fans didn't want to believe. Voting manipulation scandals confirmed years of suspicion, rankings adjusted, favorites pre-selected, and eliminations designed not for fairness but for shock value. Some contestants were cut not because they lacked skill, but because removing them would cause outrage, drive engagement, and keep viewers emotionally invested. The aftermath for those trainees wasn't dramatic music or sympathy edits. It was silence, lost opportunities, and fading from public view. Even idols who debuted weren't safe. Control didn't disappear after debut. It intensified. Phones confiscated, schedules monitored, dorms watched. Some companies reportedly used isolation as punishment, pulling idols from practice or lessons, knowing it would hurt their performance and confidence. Over time, that environment doesn't just cause exhaustion, it breaks people down mentally. Former idols have described feeling disconnected from their own identity, like they were playing a role they could never step out of. But fans rarely saw that reality. What they saw instead was luxury, designer outfits, expensive accessories, glamorous photo shoots, and a lifestyle that looked unreachable. The truth is, many idols weren't wealthy at all. Some were drowning in debt from training costs, others weren't paid for years. A few relied on parents or relatives just to eat while promoting on national television. Luxury items were often borrowed, sponsored, or returned immediately after events. But fans didn't know that, and honestly, many didn't care, because image mattered more than reality. And luxury brands noticed. Idols became walking billboards without ever saying a word. A single airport photo could sell out a bag within minutes. Teen fans with little to no income felt pressure to keep up, convinced that owning the same item brought them closer to their idol. This wasn't a new phenomenon either. Years ago, South Korea coined the term spine breaker to describe parents working themselves to exhaustion to afford expensive jackets for their kids. That problem didn't disappear, it evolved. Now, teens crave items worth thousands because idols normalized extreme consumption. Fourth-generation idols became prime targets, young faces influencing even younger fans. Researchers openly stated that these idols were shaping the next generation of luxury buyers. Companies rushed to sign them first, knowing the payoff would be massive. Fans already spending thousands on albums, concerts, and merch were now encouraged to spend even more on fashion. Fear of missing out became a weapon. If you couldn't buy what your idol wore, you felt left behind, like you weren't a real fan. Some fans recognized the marketing, but many didn't, especially younger ones entering the fandom for the first time. And while this system thrived, myths spread uncontrollably. Stories repeated so often they became accepted truth. Jisoo being labeled as someone who joined YG only to act ignores the fact that she impressed instantly with her vocals and was offered a trainee spot immediately. Acting was part of her path, not a backup plan. GFriend being reduced to one viral fall ignores years of training, strong debut performance, and consistent releases that built their fanbase long before that clip surfaced. The theory that BTS members V and J-Hope were meant to swap roles has no real evidence. Experimentation doesn't mean destiny was rewritten. IU being personally rejected by JYP himself is a half-truth that ignores the reality that rejection came from someone else, and what defined her career was persistence, not who said no. Johnny training non-stop for 9 years paints an incomplete picture that leaves out the years he trained part-time while living a normal student life. Yuna being labeled a former big-hit trainee confuses her story with Sinbi's. Minnie being accused of being kicked out of YG for dating falls apart when timelines are actually examined. And F of X being called unsuccessful ignores domestic charting, critical acclaim, and their massive influence on experimental K-pop. These myths stick because fans are emotionally invested. Algorithms reward exaggeration, and drama always spreads faster than corrections ever could. And once that cycle starts, it becomes almost impossible to stop. When fans spend years supporting an idol, defending them online, buying albums, watching every live, and emotionally attaching parts of their own identity to that person, it becomes painful to accept that parts of what they love might be manufactured. Questioning the system can feel like betraying the idol themselves, even though the idol didn't create the system, and that's exactly why the illusion works so well. Companies benefit when fans fight each other instead of questioning structures. They benefit when discussions stay emotional instead of analytical. They benefit when criticism is framed as hate and curiosity is framed as betrayal. Because as long as fans are arguing over narratives, timelines, edits, and rumors, no one is asking who actually profits from all of it. And none of this makes idols villains. Most idols are navigating a machine they didn't design, one they entered as teenagers with dreams bigger than their understanding of contracts, power dynamics, and long-term consequences. Many of them didn't choose their image, their role, or even their public personality. They adapted because adaptation was survival. They learned early that speaking out could mean being labeled difficult, ungrateful, or unprofessional. They learned that silence was safer. So they maintain illusions because that's the job, and because breaking them often comes at a cost most people never see. And this is where the conversation gets uncomfortable, because once you realize how much of K-pop is carefully engineered, you start noticing how deeply it affects the way fans see themselves. K-pop doesn't just sell music, it sells aspiration, it sells identity, it sells belonging, it tells fans that if you work hard enough, support enough, spend enough, vote enough, you become part of something bigger. You're not just listening, you're contributing. You're not just watching, you're participating. And that feeling is powerful. It fills emotional gaps, it creates routine, it builds community. But it also blurs boundaries, because when idols are framed as friends, comfort figures, or emotional anchors, criticism feels personal. When idols are positioned as symbols of success, youth, and perfection, comparison becomes inevitable. Fans start measuring their own worth against someone else's highlight reel. They feel behind. They feel inadequate. They feel pressure to keep up, not just financially, but emotionally. And the industry knows this. That's why content never stops. Comebacks overlap. Live streams fill gaps. Vlogs humanize idols just enough to feel relatable, but not enough to feel real. Everything is paced to keep fans engaged, but never satisfied. Always waiting for the next release, the next update, the next moment. And when something goes wrong, when cracks show, the response is rarely transparency. It's distraction. A teaser drops, a new rumor surfaces, a different idol trends, attention shifts, memory fades, and fans move on, not because they don't care, but because the system never gives them time to sit with discomfort. Even scandals follow this pattern. They burn hot, burn fast, and disappear, leaving behind unanswered questions and damaged people. As long as the music hits, the visuals shine, and the content keeps flowing, the system keeps moving, but awareness changes the experience. It doesn't mean you can't enjoy K-pop anymore. It means you engage with it differently, with boundaries, with skepticism, with empathy for idols as workers, not products, and with enough distance to remember that your worth was never tied to how much you consume, how much you defend, or how much you sacrifice. The illusion only has power if it's unquestioned. And once you see how carefully it's built, the real question isn't whether K-pop is fake. The real question is how much of the fantasy you're willing to hold on to, and how much you're ready to let go now that you know what's really holding it up. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.